Hello, my name is Julia and I'm a part of the mood disorders group. The article I chose to critique is called Anamoxetine and Attention Deficit / Hyperactive Disorder in Children with and Without a Comorbid Mood Disorder. So a little background on the history and what exactly anamoxetine is it's typically a clinical drug used for children and any individual with ADHD. It also goes by the name Strattera. There's quite a few side effects to the clinical drug, such as like dizziness, loss of appetite, and a reduced sex drive. And if it's used in children for a long period of time, it actually permanently affects a child's growth rate and weight. So doctor visits become more regular when children are on this drug. And the side effects are also heightened when using marijuana and alcohol, but that's common with most medications. So just always have to monitor your usage. And in previous studies, anamoxetine has an onset action of 1 to 2 weeks. So that's when you'll start seeing small adjustments in behavior, like less fidgeting, able to pay attention a little bit more, and then a clinical response in 4 to 6 weeks. So that means you'll be able to see things like more attention to details and longer attention spans. Children will be able to sit for longer. And then basically, the article just discusses the effects that anamoxetine has on children with ADHD when also paired with a comorbid mood disorder. And the study was conducted in Egypt because there's a lack of resources for children and any individual that has any sort of mental health disorder. Because it's super expensive there. In Canada, we're very lucky that we get healthcare and benefits and stuff like that, but in countries like the Middle East, South and North Africa, they don't get that luxury. And then there's also a large stigma around mental health disorders in those countries, just because a lot of the time they're very religious. So if you're living a good life, if you're praying, that kind of stuff, then you won't experience these type of symptoms and disorders. Or they also almost like a code of silence, where if you're struggling, you're not allowed to say anything because it brings like dishonor onto your family. And I thought this was a really good article to look into, because I'm from the Middle East and I have family still living in the Middle East and in Egypt who also have mood disorders, and some of them have ADHD. So I'm learning and educating myself by doing this assignment, but it's on like a personal level instead of just the educational, and because it's an assignment. So I thought that was kind of cool. And then in order to get the study approved, they had to go through a lot of ethical tests because it's on children. So they had to get consent from the children and their parents, so that they knew exactly what was going on, and so that they knew that they would have to participate for a month unless there were circumstances where they would have to leave. And then the study was done through prospective, naturalistic, and open-labeled methods of scientific experimentation between 2 controlled groups. The age range of the children was from 7 to 16 years old, and there was 2 groups of 40, so there was 80 children in total. One group of 40 was children with only ADHD, and then the other group of 40 was children with ADHD and a mood disorder. So they chose children with depression or bipolar. And then they found that within the first week, the group with ADHD and a mood disorder was showing slower results to the drug. So they had higher levels of hyperactivity, impulsivity, cognitive problems, and emotional liability still. And then eventually it was at a slower rate, and at the end of the study, the improvement levels were very similar between the 2 groups. And their ability to both groups improved their cognitive abilities, and their hyperactive symptoms were less sporadic and unmanageable for parents because of the lack of education in those countries. And then the depressive symptoms for the mood disorders were also less, as children showed more interest in activities and they were willing to engage in more things. And so because of the study, they were able to discover that this lower costing, more accessible drug, anamoxetine, is effective and cost effective to not only treat ADHD but also mood disorders by lessening the symptoms and keeping them at a consistent baseline so that the depression doesn't go up and down a lot. Same with the like hyperactive symptoms. And yeah, that was the article that I chose. I really enjoyed doing this because of the personal aspect of it. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.